I remember the exact second my life turned into a movie nobody would believe. It was 7:03 a.m., late September, the kind of cold that sneaks under your skin and reminds you you're alive. I was standing on the porch of the little A-frame cabin my grandfather and I framed when I still had to stand on a stump to reach the ridge beam. Coffee steaming in an enamel mug older than I was. Watching the mist curl off Pine Hollow Valley like the mountains themselves were exhaling after a long night. Then the red and blue lights came slicing through the fog. Two sheriff's cruisers crawling up the private gravel road my grandfather poured sweat into 60 years ago, tires crunching slow, apologetic, like they hated what they were about to do. Behind them, gleaming white and smug as a shark, sat Karen Blackwell in her 2024 Range Rover autobiography, bleach blonde hair sprayed into battle armor, designer sunglasses reflecting the sunrise like she was posing for a magazine spread nobody asked for. She was smiling that smile, tight, Botoxed, the one that says I already won and you just haven't realized it yet. Deputy Ramirez stepped out first, hat in hand, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. "Morning, Jack," he said, voice low, almost embarrassed. "Got a trespass and illegal structure call. Lady says you're squatting on HOA land." I took a slow sip of coffee, tasted pine smoke and yesterday's bourbon in the grounds, and felt something ancient uncoil in my chest. Trespassing. On land my family has held since before Montana was cool. Karen stepped out then, heels clicking on my hand-hewn porch boards like gunfire, perfume hitting the crisp mountain air so hard the ravens shut up mid-caw. "This," she announced to the deputies, waving a manicured talon at my home, "is an eyesore, a code violation, and a danger to property values in Evergreen Ridge Estates. I want him removed immediately." I just looked at her, let the silence stretch until even the wind held its breath, and then I said the 6 words that changed everything. "Ma'am, you're standing on my porch, and I own the whole damn valley." She laughed, actually laughed, the sound sharp enough to cut glass. She thought I was bluffing. She thought I was some burned-out tech bro playing mountain man for Instagram likes. She had no idea she'd just kicked over a hornet's nest that had been guarding this valley since 1963. My name is Jack Harriman, 35 years old, former senior software architect who realized one day that writing code for billionaires was slowly killing my soul. I came home to heal. Instead, I came home to finish a war my grandfather started the day he paid $800 an acre for 2,600 acres of the most beautiful dirt God ever bothered to sculpt. He bought it all: timber, mineral, water, grazing, future development easements. Every sneaky closet Depression-era logger turned self-taught land baron could dream up. He knew, even then, that one day people like Karen Blackwell would roll in with California money and entitlement thick enough to choke a mule, and he built the deed like a castle wall. When he died, he left it to me, the only grandson, the one who spent every summer from age 8 to 18 learning how to read contour lines, swing an axe, and respect something bigger than myself. I thought I was just coming home to breathe. Turns out I was coming home to draw a line in the dirt and dare the world to cross it. The first shot was a certified letter on paper so expensive it probably cried when they cut the tree down, accusing my 1995 off-grid cabin of materially impairing the aesthetic cohesion of the greater Evergreen Ridge community. The community that didn't exist when my grandfather and I poured the foundation with our own hands. Then came the drive-bys. Karen rolling up in that white tank of hers, heels stabbing my porch like she was trying to kill it, taking photos with an iPad the size of a billboard, dictating notes to some assistant on speakerphone about substandard roofing materials and unpermitted outbuildings. I'd just lean against the doorframe in my Carhartts and work boots, arms crossed, letting her talk herself hoarse while the mountains laughed behind me. Every time she left, the smell of her perfume lingered like chemical warfare mixed with the honest scent of pine sap and wood smoke, and I'd stand there longer than I needed to, feeling the rage simmer low, the way Grandpa taught me. Never waste anger, store it, sharpen it, wait for winter. Because winter always comes. The complaints escalated like a bad horror movie with an unlimited budget. County inspector, state environmental division, fire marshal, even a wellness check from social services, because apparently my isolated living conditions were endangering imaginary children. Every single inspector left shaking their head, some of them laughing outright, One guy actually asked if he could take photos of my solar racking for his own off-grid build. But every visit cost me time, sleep, peace, and every visit left another fingerprint on the trap I was slowly, patiently building. That's when I stopped playing defense. I called Marcus Delgado, college roommate, former tree-hugging hippie turned environmental law pit bull who still owes me for covering his half of rent senior year when he was busy chaining himself to redwoods. I hired Sarah Park, ex-military intelligence turned private investigator who can find more dirt on a saint than most people have in a lifetime. I sat down with old Walt Brennan, 82 years young, still shoeing horses and spitting tobacco juice with sniper accuracy, who'd been fighting developers since bell-bottoms were in style. I drank burnt coffee with Clara Morales at her diner while she told me how Karen tried to run her out after 38 years of feeding loggers, ranchers, and lost souls. I listened to Devin Park, the software engineer from Seattle who thought he was buying into paradise and instead got fleeced 50 grand in consulting fees Karen never disclosed. We met after closing time at Clara's Pine Hollow Diner, legal pads spread across tables that had seen 3 generations of heartbreak and celebration, the smell of fresh pie and old grease thick in the air, and we planned like generals before a battle we never wanted but were born to fight. Every fake complaint, every forged document, every 3 a.m. sabotage attempt caught on 4K night vision, every bribe offer that climbed from 400 grand to 1,200,000 in a single trembling conversation outside the post office, all of it documented, triple backed up, notarized, and gift-wrapped for the reckoning. And the whole time I'm out there splitting kindling with an axe older than Karen's fake tan, each swing ringing across the valley like a church bell, announcing to the mountains, to the ghosts of loggers and miners and Blackfoot hunters who walked this land before any of us, I am not leaving. This ends when she breaks. Then came the discovery that turned a knife fight into an extinction-level event. I was elbow-deep in county records, eyes burning from microfilm older than the internet, when I found it, buried under 60 years of bureaucratic sediment. Grandpa hadn't just bought the surface. He'd quietly taken senior mortgage position on 3 parcels Karen used as clean collateral for her $2.4 million construction loan. He owned the mineral estate under every cul-de-sac in Phase 1 and all of Phase 2. He'd written future development veto clauses tied to watershed purity that read like prophecy. One phone call to the grandson of Grandpa's original attorney, now white-haired and half-retired, and the man actually laughed out loud. "Your grandfather," he said, voice cracking with something like awe, "built a legal landmine and waited 60 years for someone stupid enough to step on it. Congratulations, son. You just inherited the trigger." I sat in my truck outside the courthouse clutching a handwritten note Grandpa tucked into the original deed, yellowed, ink fading, but words still sharp. For my grandson. Never sell. Never bend. Some things are worth burning the world down to protect. Love how. I cried then, big ugly sobs that shook the steering wheel, because I finally understood this wasn't about land. It was about blood. It was about promise. It was about a dead man trusting a boy who wasn't ready yet to become the man the valley needed. October 23rd. The community center smelled like burnt coffee, desperation, and righteous fury. 160 souls packed shoulder to shoulder in a room built for 100, local news cameras in the back, documentary crew rolling, sheriff's deputies pretending they weren't loving every second of this. Karen stood at the podium in a blazer that cost more than most people's trucks, PowerPoint slides glowing with rendered McMansions and fake lakes, and a red circle around my cabin labeled Future Clubhouse Site. She never saw the storm coming. When she said the words, eminent domain proceedings, something inside me went quiet, the kind of quiet you feel right before an avalanche lets go. I stood up slow, boots loud on the linoleum, and the room went still enough you could hear hearts hammering against ribs. "Point of order, Madam President," I said, voice steady enough to cut diamonds. "Before we vote to steal my grandfather's land, maybe we should talk about who actually owns the dirt under this whole circus." I plugged my laptop into the projector and hit play. 60 feet of cold, hard, court-certified truth lit up the wall, 1963 deeds glowing like scripture, bank officers standing to call her loan, lab reports showing her luxury homes dumping raw gray water in a Pine Hollow creek, while my illegal septic tested cleaner than bottled water, neighbors rising one by one like an army of ghosts. Old Walt told how she offered him half market value, then threatened tax foreclosure. Clara played audio of Karen demanding protection money to keep the diner open. Devin projected closing documents proving 50 grand in hidden fees. And when the man in the $1,000 suit from First Security Bank stood up and said, "Loan call due in full, effective immediately, collateral insufficient," Karen Blackwell finally understood she wasn't the predator anymore. She screamed. She threatened. She accidentally confessed to forging the 1987 easement on camera while 3 news stations rolled. She lunged for my laptop and Deputy Ramirez caught her wrist gentle but firm, reading her rights while the room erupted in a sound I'll take to my grave, part cheer, part war cry, all Montana. The vote was a massacre. 89-11 against Phase 2, 100% no confidence. New board elected on the spot, with Clara Morales as president, because nobody else had fed that valley for 4 decades without asking for anything but a thank you. 2 weeks later, the headlines were simple and sweet. Local developer arrested in $7.20 million fraud scheme. HOA president faces 12 felony counts. Bank forecloses on 32 luxury homes. I bought every single one at auction for pennies on the dollar and slapped permanent conservation easements on them, so ironclad her grandchildren's grandchildren couldn't build a treehouse without my signature. Today, when I walk the ridgeline at sunset, the valley looks exactly the way Grandpa left it, wild, free, and untouchable. We started the Pine Hollow Land Trust, scholarships, watershed restoration, annual harvest festival where the bonfire smells like victory, and Clara's apple pie. Old Walt finally retired with his land paid off, and his middle finger still strong. Devin runs our youth coding camp in the summers, teaching mountain kids they can build the future without selling their soul. And every evening I sit on the same porch, same enamel mug, same axe hanging by the door, and I talk to a man who's been dead 20 years. I kept the promise, old man. The valley's safe. But here's what still wakes me at 3 a.m. Boots on the floor before I'm fully awake, heart hammering like gunfire. When is total destruction justice? And when does it make you the villain with better lawyers? I ended a woman's life as she knew it, publicly, permanently, gleefully. Was that righteousness, or just the sweetest revenge wearing a halo? I don't know the answer. I know the valley sleeps quiet now. I know the water runs clean. I know Grandpa's laughing somewhere with a bourbon and a front row seat. But I need to hear from you, wherever you're watching, Texas, Scotland, New Zealand, wherever some entitled bully is trying to pave over your grandfather's dream. Where's the line? When does protecting home become something darker? Drop your story in the comments. No judgment here, just real people who know what it feels like when someone tries to take the only place you were ever whole. And if you're in the fight right now, DM me. The Valley Guardians group is 40,000 strong and growing. Lawyers, PIs, accountants, regular folks who've bled for their dirt. You are not alone. Because in the end, land isn't just acres and deeds and mineral rights. It's the sound of your grandfather's axe at dusk, the smell of coffee on a cold morning, the knowledge that some things are worth burning everything down to keep. See you in the next one. And Grandpa, I hope wherever you are, the coffee's hot and the view's forever.